call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the show. Hope everybody's doing good this morning. We got a lot of things to talk about, some more of the same and then some new stuff. That's just kind of where we're at this stage. And then we'll get you previewed tomorrow for this LSU game, which this is a must win. Okay. But we're going to do a little bit of bracketology talk, bubble talk. And honestly, listen, get used to it, Razorback fans, because this is your life for the next month. Welcome. It's been a while since Arkansas has been in this position where they've been squarely on the bubble the way that they are. Things change daily. And so we're going to do our best to keep you updated. Now, we did a decent amount of this, not even a decent amount, a heavy amount of this yesterday. So I'm not going to be doing too much repeat stuff here, but there are a handful of updates that I wanted to share with you. And then I wanted to end on some transfer portal and recruiting talk there. So probably every day moving forward, I'm going to at least spend like 90 seconds on this bubble talk just to keep you guys as informed as possible as we move forward. That way, when you talk to your friends at work or whatever, and they're like, is Arkansas getting in the tournament? You're going to have a pretty good idea of where they stand at least. So Arkansas stayed put again today in the net rankings and a lot of the metrics, the wins above bubbles, the same, all that. They didn't play, obviously. So you kind of expect that, but other teams around them did. So sometimes you wake up after having not played, you go check the net and you've moved 3, 4, 5 spots up or down. And you don't know why. And it's because this thing shifts daily and quad ones become quad twos, or, teams right behind you get a big win and they leap you. Different things happen. Okay? So Arkansas stayed put. But I went over to the bracket matrix. You're going to hear me refer to that a lot. And what that is, it's just it's an awesome website, bracketmatrix.com. And it's this compilation of every reputable, like proven bracketologist out there that does these field of 68 projections. And it's not just any Joe Schmo, but it's the people who've proven that they kind of know what they're doing. They've got a track record, you know what I'm saying? And they've got 90 brackets out there right now that they're tracking. And I've been following it a little bit. So after Arkansas, they were an afterthought for the longest there. After they beat Kentucky, I went back and checked the updates, and Arkansas was in 2 of the 90 brackets. Well, okay, that kind of makes sense. After they beat Texas, so picked up another quad one win, I went and looked again, and they were in 13 of the 90 brackets. It's like, all right, it's trending in the right direction. Arkansas loses this home game to Alabama, and obviously a lot of other stuff went on throughout the country. And I went and looked this morning. It's Monday when I'm recording this. This goes out early Tuesday morning, and Arkansas was in 40 of the 90 brackets that were out there. Let that sink in for a minute. Arkansas took an L at home, and they've suddenly appeared in 27 more brackets than they did before they took that L. That is good. This is trending in a positive direction for Arkansas. Now, they got plenty of work that they still have to do. So 3 things that I want to do here real quick this morning. And like I said, I know we spent a lot of time on this yesterday, so I'll run through it as quick as possible, and then we'll talk a little recruiting because I know you guys love that stuff. One, I just wanted to break down the rest of the schedule here real quick into what quadrants they fall in. We always talk about quad 1, quad 2, and that's just the net's way of sorting the games and sorting your strength of schedule. The quality of opponent you're playing, is it home, is it on the road, is it neutral, and it just puts you into those categories, right? And obviously you want as many quad 1 and quad 2 games and wins as possible, and you want to stay off the schneid. You want zeros in the loss column in quad 3 and quad 4. Right now, that's kind of where Arkansas is at. But if you go through these final 8 games, it's kind of interesting to look at. Let's talk about, like, what does Arkansas have to do? If they go 4-4 and get to 7 wins in the SEC, are they in? Maybe. I feel better about that than I did, maybe a week or so ago, but it does depend on which 4 you get. So LSU is coming up on Wednesday. LSU is 80th in the net. That's a quad 3 game. I didn't think that there was going to be any of those in the SEC this year, but they keep slipping. They haven't won since they beat Arkansas. And so right now, if you go look at it, you would think, oh, damn, does Arkansas have a quad 3 loss? No, because on the road, it's different. That's the thing, right? If you go on the road, you play a team in the top 75, it's a quad 1 game. In the top 135, it's a quad 2. So that's going to stay as a quad 2. Like, you're not in danger of that one catching up to you. But at home, because obviously they take home court advantage into account, top 30 is a quad 1 game, top 75 is quad 2, and there's LSU at 80. So right now it's a quad 3 game for Arkansas. Must win. If you lose that, you're in a bad spot, a world of hurt, right? Then Arkansas goes on the road. Obviously, with the way these teams are playing, at Texas A&M, at Auburn, both quad 1 games at the moment. If Arkansas somehow find a way to split that, I mean, you got to feel really, really good about where you're at. Auburn's going to be brutal. That's coming off that Alabama game where College Game Day is going to be there, the big rival. Maybe they have a little bit of a letdown moment. We'll see. We'll talk about that when we get there. A&M plays in so many close games, and they've got that style of play. Like Arkansas is going to have to keep them off the glass and anything, but you really feel like that's probably going to be a pretty competitive game. Can you steal it? Can you find a way? Whatever. We'll get there. Both of those are quad 1s. At the moment, Missouri at home is going to be a quad 1 for Arkansas. They're at 23 in the net. They're getting to that portion of their schedule where they're going to start to take some losses. Can they stay inside that top 30? It's going to be right there on that borderline. Right now, that's a quad 1 game, though. Texas at home, it was a quad 1 at Texas. It's a quad 2 right now. Now, listen, they were at 25 in the net, so it's reasonable to think that they might be able to get back inside that top 30. But after taking a couple losses there, let me pull up the net rankings real quick because I want to see exactly how close they are. They're 31. Okay, so we'll see what they do the rest of the way here. I think they play Alabama this week, and so they might take a loss there. We'll see how competitive they are. That's going to be borderline. I think it's going to wind up a quad 2, but you never know. I think you got to think about it 2 ways. One, you want that to be a quad 1 at home. Like you can get that on your resume, and that's good. But at the same time, you're kind of competing with Texas for a spot in the NCAA tournament field. So you want them to take L's, right? So you can look at it either way, I think. South Carolina, good for you that's on the road. That's going to be a quad 2 game, a really important one there for Arkansas. They've played some teams really tough at home. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. At Vanderbilt, that's going to be safely a quad 1 game, even though they've just got a brutal slate coming. I think they play like 5 ranked teams in a row before Arkansas comes in there. But they're still going to be top 75, I would imagine, pretty easily. Mississippi State's going to be right on that bubble as well. That's who you end the season with at home. They're 29th. Again, it's got to be top 30 at home to be a Q1 game. So, they're going to be right there. So when we talk about, 4-4 getting Arkansas in or probably in, it is that double-edged sword, right? Like you really don't want to add a Q2 or Q3 loss here if you can avoid it. But you also need as many quad 1s as possible. So to me, home LSU at South Carolina are absolute must-haves. Those will be blemishes. Those will be black eyes on the resume. You lose LSU at home or you lose to South Carolina, period. Regardless of what quadrant it falls into, the selection committee is going to take notice of that. They're going to look at it and be like, oh, because right now, if it's like, you see those graphics pop up, sometimes it's like key wins. And for Arkansas, it'll be neutral over Michigan, at Kentucky, at Texas, whatever. And then bad losses. The only one that you would really see on there would be at LSU. Even Oklahoma at home wouldn't fall under that category at the moment, right? You don't want to have 2. You don't want to see LSU times 2 on that thing, okay? And so I think those are going to be the must wins for Arkansas. I think Texas is going to be pretty close to that. And then where can you steal one of these other ones? The one that really stands out to me, and listen, I'm not discounting them at all. Like I've watched them play several times at home and beat Tennessee in there, Kentucky there, whatever. Vanderbilt coming off of that stretch that they're going to have, you might catch them wounded a little bit. That seems like a fairly gettable quad 1 opportunity for Arkansas and road wins. It's not just about the quadrants. Like they look at your road and neutral record. That would be a really good opportunity there for Arkansas. We'll see about Missouri when they come into Bud Walton. They're just a different team when they play at home, and Arkansas hasn't necessarily been great at home this season, but that's one to keep an eye on. Mississippi State's one that I actually feel pretty good about Arkansas's chances of getting. We'll just see where they fall in that mix there. So it's going to be close to see where this falls out. I don't know. I'm fascinated. I really am. I love this stuff. I geek out over it. You know what I mean? I really nerd out over this. Anyway, an interesting read that I wanted to share with you guys. It's over on ESPN. It's just kind of breaking down their bubble teams and where things stand. In their mind, this all comes from the BPI, right? You hear us reference that sometimes. That's just another one of those metrics that the selection committee uses. So we'll talk about the net and KenPom and Torvik and wins above bubble and all that. BPI is just another one of those, right? So it's one of like 13 or 14 things that the committee looks at, and it differs from everyone else's with what they value. And so check this out. For the SEC right now, they have 5 locks, and they view that as like 95% or better chance of getting in the NCAA tournament. Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M, sure, all makes sense. In their should be in category, this is where it gets interesting. Kentucky's in there. I agree with that. They got them at 94%. Like Kentucky's going to be in unless they just completely capsize at this point. This is where it gets tricky because if you go look at a lot of the other metrics, Texas is in trouble, right? Like they're in big trouble. BPI though, they've got them as 88% of getting in, according to the tourney forecast there. I think that's crazy talk. We'll see where that winds up. But every team has their strengths and weaknesses on their resume. And for Texas, the BPI in this ESPN forecast has got them pretty high, whereas others don't necessarily. So that's one to keep an eye on. Mississippi State, they have it 81%. I think that's fair. Ole Miss at 79%. I think that's fair. Now, the work to be done category is what gets interesting here. Missouri, they have it 57%. That's crazy. Like I think Missouri's pretty solidly a tournament lock at this point, unless things fall apart. Georgia at 48%. This is one of the teams that I really feel like Arkansas has got a chance to pass up here. You got the win in hand over them. They seem to be kind of trending in the wrong direction, whereas Arkansas is trending upwards. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on. Oklahoma Sooners, they have it 42%. They're really dropping off a cliff here. And even though they beat Arkansas at home, I do think this is one of the teams that Arkansas's got a good chance of passing up potentially. Then you got down to Arkansas, and they've got Arkansas at 41%. We've done all this talk about Vanderbilt, and they're like 17-6. They got all these big wins. They're rolling, but they're down at 20%. And I think the reason why is because the rest of their strength of schedule is brutal. It might be the toughest strength of schedule in the country the rest of the way for Vanderbilt. Arkansas is 22nd hardest in the nation. I'll read to you what they said about Arkansas real quick, and then we'll move on. It says, given the early season hole the Razorbacks dug for themselves, we know about that 1-6 start to SEC play. Every game has and will carry huge tournament leverage for Arkansas from February onward. Recently, Arkansas's had some momentum. First, a win in John Calipari's Kentucky homecoming, then a solid road upset at Texas last Wednesday. That run lost some steam Saturday with the home loss to Alabama that gave back some of the team's gains. The Hogs have been better talent-wise than their record indicated, and they'll have more chances to add to their resume. However, their remaining schedule could prove tough. The 22nd hardest in the nation. They still face an uphill climb to make the tournament. So it's all just according to ESPN. Like you go listen to anybody else, and they might tell you something a little bit different. But there you have it. So in terms of like, I mean, I've really been hate watching some stuff here. These other bubble teams. Yesterday, I was dialed, folks. I was dialed into Nebraska and Ohio State basketball, which is crazy. Either one of them you want to see lose. Nebraska wound up winning that game. They're kind of on the right side of it. Ohio State on the wrong side, whatever. But I was checking that out, and I was like, I can't believe that I'm like engaged in what's going on here with this game. Big Ten basketball is usually not for me, but here we are. This week's schedule, the midweek schedule, what do we care about? What are we looking for? Florida at Mississippi State. I tell you what, how about Mississippi State get that win and see if you can really solidify them and keep them as a quad one game for your schedule. That could be beneficial. Auburn at Vanderbilt. You want Vanderbilt to just start taking losses, I think, because on one hand, I think that's going to still be a quad one game for Arkansas, regardless of when they wind up playing them. But Vanderbilt is one of those, 3, 4, 5 teams that you feel like you can pass up in the pecking order in the SEC. So there you have it. Tennessee at Kentucky, who cares? Alabama at Texas. To me, at this point, You've already got the road win at Texas. That's going to be a quad one no matter what. And I just think that that's one of the most reasonable teams that you can pass up. So Alabama, not only would you hope that they beat Texas, in my opinion, but they beat them pretty handily, right? Because Arkansas lost to them by 4. They kind of covered, so it didn't mess up any of the metrics. If Alabama goes in there and kind of smacks up Texas a little bit and drops them off even more, that'll be eye-opening. Georgia at Texas A&M. You want Texas A&M to handle their business. Georgia's the easiest team that Arkansas can pass here. Ole Miss, South Carolina doesn't really matter. I kind of hope South Carolina gets a couple SEC wins though before Arkansas gets down there. It's just weird to have that pressure of facing the team that hasn't won yet. I know that means they're bad, but I don't know. It's just kind of how I feel about it. Would like to see Missouri take care of business against Oklahoma 1, so Missouri remains pretty solidly a quad 1 when they come to Bud Walton Arena. And 2, any losses Oklahoma takes at this point is a good thing. And then obviously you got Arkansas and LSU, and Arkansas is just going to have to get that one done for sure, no doubt about it. So we're going to switch gears here and talk a little bit of recruiting and portal, and then get out of here. A little bit of a lengthy episode today. That's okay. But before we do, got to remind you guys about our friends over at Alumni Hall. Razorback fans, let me tell you all about them. It's the best place to go get Hog gear. It's the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. Top brands, apparel, hats, Yetis, accessories, tailgate gear, and gifts. Every time you spend $150, you get a $10 reward to use the next time. And if you're an Arkansas student, faculty, or military, just show your ID. You get 10% off. They're always getting new awesome stuff in, so go check them out. We were just there Friday, this past Friday, and they had all kinds of new stuff. I was rocking the DJ Wagner NIL jersey. We had the pinstripe baseball jersey in there, and baseball season's right around the corner, so you need to go check Alumni Hall out. Good stuff. Check them out in Fayetteville or InsideArkansas.com/Alumni Hall if you want to shop online. Do that, or check them out 3417 North College Avenue in Fayetteville. Appreciate them. And let's move on here. I'll talk a little bit of recruiting, rapid fire, real quick. On the high school front, a couple tidbits, just things that caught my eye. John Calipari, he's back. He's out and about. All right. He's out and about on the recruiting trail. Went out to see 5-star forward Nate Ament again. This is at least 3 times during the season that Arkansas has had an off day and he's hopped on an airplane and gone down to see this kid in person. That speaks volumes. When Cal is going in person to see guys, they are a priority, right? Arkansas remains in active pursuit here. They still haven't locked down a visit, haven't got him on campus for a visit yet. Until that happens, although he has said he's not above committing to a place that he hasn't visited, I find that strange. But whatever, until they get him on visit, I still see Arkansas as like in that second tier of contenders. I mean, you got Duke, Tennessee's in there. Louisville's been recruiting him. Notre Dame's been on him. Kentucky's trying to get in the mix late. I've heard St. John's is trying to get in the mix late. I mean, a lot of teams want him because he's a top 5 prospect in the country this late in the game that's still available. Let's see if Arkansas gets him on campus for a visit and what happens there. Be awesome if they were able to do it. I'm not expecting it to happen, but crazier things have happened. You know what I mean? It's been kind of a weird and drug out recruitment so far. But one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up is because if you're going to have him in, wouldn't you want to have him for a game? And so what home games do you have left at this point? And I wanted to see what's on Saturdays. So let me pull this up real quick. I know they've only got 4 home games left. You've got LSU, obviously, Wednesday night. Texas A&M, you're on the road. Okay, so maybe that Saturday, February 22nd against Missouri. That's a Saturday night game at home. Texas is a Wednesday late game. That one could be tough given the travel schedule and everything. And then the regular season finale on March the 8th. That's a Saturday morning against Mississippi State. So you got some weekend opportunities to get them in there. We'll see if it happens. Haven't heard anything on that front other than I remember him saying in an interview, I think it was with Tipton or those guys over at On3 a few weeks ago, that he was looking at taking a visit at some point here during the season. Hasn't happened yet. A new big man is available in the 2025 class. Don't know if Arkansas is even going to reach out or what, but just decommitted from Miami, Ben Ahmed. I don't know if Arkansas is even going to kick the tires here or if they should. I just keep thinking about Arkansas potentially having 0 front court and having to build that entire thing, especially with the way Big Z's been balling out. So now you're like, man, is he going to go to the draft also? Ahmed, hey, listen, 4-star, top 100 guy, 6'9", 300 pounds. For those who are wanting a little bit of beef in there, had some decent offers. Miami, he was like his first visit. He committed there, but Georgia, Cincinnati, Boston College, Xavier, Cal, probably nothing to it, but hey, at least a name to be aware of. If you hear that Arkansas has reached out or something like that, then maybe it's something on the back end of your radar. I think that they're obviously going to do most of their heavy lifting in the portal. Wouldn't be surprised if they tried to get involved internationally with some guys, in the front court mix there. But if you're looking for freshmen, depth piece, developmental thing, I don't know if that's really Cal style necessarily, but that's a name, right? It's a name. A couple things on the portal talk front. Landon Glasper, the Fayetteville native from North Carolina A&T, we saw him. He has already entered the transfer portal, put his name in the transfer portal, plans to enter the transfer portal, whatever the heck you want to call it. And so immediately people are like, whoa, remember that guy? He's a, big time scorer, whatever, local guy. Wouldn't that make sense? Folks, I don't think it's going to happen. North Carolina A&T's got some stuff going on over there. First of all, they're part of that gambling ring probe, and it just so corresponded with Glasper and some of those other guys getting suspended from the team. Don't know if it's related at all, but it is a coincidence maybe to keep an eye on. But at any rate, I don't think that's the move that Arkansas is going to make here, unless he would really want to be like, the 12th man or something like that. Good player, but very inefficient, very ball dominant. It wouldn't make any sense at all, in my opinion, with Malik Thomas, Darius Acuff coming in here. But he put up some stats. 18.5 points per game this season. What did he do from three? I know he chucks that thing. Yeah, he shot 417 threes in 2 years at North Carolina A&T. Just a high volume, low efficiency guy. This year, 33% from the field, 33% from three. What did he do against Arkansas? Let's see. He was 7 of 21. He took 21 shots in that game, and he was 2 of 11 from three there. So have a handful of people who've asked about that and what it might look like. I don't know. I haven't walked into John Calipari's office and said, hey, are you pursuing this guy? But I don't necessarily see that one happening. I don't think it makes a lot of sense there. Mike Woodson is stepping down at Indiana. So that entire roster is about to become free agents, right? Isn't that how it works? So the last Indiana guy Arkansas got was Justin Smith, and that worked out pretty well for you. In my opinion, and I don't know what they're going to wind up valuing here just yet. But one, I immediately think, okay, well, good Lord, shooters, shooting. Well, Indiana ain't got none of that. So you can go ahead and mark those guards off the books, in my opinion, my personal preference, at least. Outside of that, though, you're thinking, okay, front court, you're going to have to replace some things there. Adu Thero sure looks like he's going to be a first round draft projected kind of guy. He's probably out of here. So could Arkansas maybe find that hybrid 4 jumbo wing Swiss Army knife kind of guy? There's 2 that I would really keep a close eye on. Now, they're both guys who could be maybe a like NBA or transfer type dude. So it could be like I'm entering my name into the draft and I'm going to go through the process, but I'm also going to enter my name into the transfer portal type of deal. I could see that with either one of these guys. Mackenzie Mbako, former 5-star, kind of fits the mold size-wise. He's 6'9", 222 pounds over there, averaging 13.3 points, 5 rebounds per game with Indiana. Good player. And honestly, not a knockdown shooter, but he's an upgraded shooter from what you're getting out of Adu Thero, and probably a downgrade in other areas. But like this year, he's shooting 46% from the field. He's made 38 threes at 34%. That's like John L. Davis levels of 3-point makes here. 87% from the free throw line. So he's really been able to knock those down as well. An interesting piece to keep an eye on. I like Mackenzie Mbako a lot. And the other guy who Arkansas was involved with under Muss when he was coming out of high school, a late bloomer, is Malik Renew. He's a little bit of a bigger body. He's 6'9" as well. He's 232 pounds. He's got a good 10, 15 pounds on Mbako. He's putting up good numbers as well. 12.3 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, averaging a couple assists too. He's good. I mean, he's a third-year player, so he'll be going into his senior season. He shot well over 50% from the field, over 54% from the field in all 3 of his years, actually. Not much of a three-point shooter. Let me look at his actual numbers there. Yeah, like he's only made 3 threes. So last year he was 15 of 45, so he made 15 threes at 33%. This year he's just 3 of 21. It's just not really a big part of his game. More of a front court piece, more of a traditional forward. 73% from the free throw line. Good rebounder. I think he's a really good player. I would love to have either one of those guys. If they hit the portal, I would be stunned if Arkansas wasn't involved in the mix there. So just wanted to share a couple names. Anytime we hear about coaches who are retiring or stepping down or whatever, we're automatically like, oh, what do we got going on here? One thing I mentioned on our Sunday stream the other day that has my attention, Florida State also, Leonard Hamilton stepping down at the end of the year. Taylor Bowen is a name that I have my eye on as a, like an ancillary pickup, not a game-changing type of player, but if you're looking at maybe replacing Trevin Brazil's role, right, as like that backup 4-man who can stretch the floor a little bit, do some different things. I think he's good for it. I do. I like Taylor Bowen. He is 6'10", 200 pounds. So he's skinny. He's kind of like TB is. In his sophomore season, he was highly recruited. Muss, I know, really liked him for a while there during the recruitment process, but he's kind of blossomed in his sophomore year. He's averaging 9 points per game, giving him 5.6 rebounds per game, and he's shooting 40% from 3, which is what I like to see. And he's made 19, so he's at about a make per game for Florida State there, and he's shooting at 40%. So kind of fits more of that stretch floor forward. He runs the floor, really, really well. Athletic, bouncy dude. So it kind of reminds you of some of those 4-men that you see from Cal at times. I think he'd be a really nice piece coming off the bench for Arkansas. And if he hits the portal with his coach out of there, I would hope that they would kick the tires a little bit. I don't know if they will or not, but sign me up if they do. So, okay, half hour. Wow, I didn't plan on doing that, but wound up having more to talk about than I thought I did. And we're going to preview LSU tomorrow, get you all geared up for that one. So appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed. Hope everybody has a good day. We'll catch you tomorrow. Appreciate y'all.